All right, guys, today we're going to talk about finding percentage of a number, and a percentage is really just something we've talked about before. We're going to try to take it a step further today. We're going to learn two different ways that we can work with percentages. They're going to be a little bit different than what we've already done. At the end of the video, I want you to try all the problems. If you're still having a hard time, that's okay. We're going to practice with this for a couple of days. Today is just getting our feet wet. It's just getting us introduced, so it's okay if you don't know it, but you still need to try. So to start off, a percentage is a portion or a part of a number. So we can represent it as a decimal or fraction. A lot of times I know we want to put a decimal though because it's just easier for us to work with, and that's fine. We will use the following formula to solve for a percentage of a number. We used a formula the other day when we talked about distance and rate and time. Today's formula is going to look a little different. It's going to be represented by two fraction bars that are equal to each other. One fraction is going to be part and a whole. This should look like what we normally have for a fraction. The part that's shaded in, the total number of pieces. And then on the other side, we're going to put the percent, and I want you to write out the word percent, value, and then the number 100 is our denominator. This should look familiar from when we were doing percent values. I'm sorry, we were trying to change percent into decimals and fractions. We always put the number that the percent was over 100. To start off, to use this formula, we're going to substitute the parts that we know with information from the problem, just like our last unit. Then we're going to solve for the variable or the letter or the part, so let's put variable / part, that is left over using inverse operations to isolate the unknown part. Okay, so there's two ways that this happens. First, when you try to find what is a percent of a number. Here, we're trying to figure out what is 9% of 124. So I know 124 is the total number I have. Which of these four means total? Whole. So I'm going to write 124 there. What else do I know? 9%. So if I'm looking at my percent, that means I'm going to want to use this fraction. What is the value or the worth of the percent? Well, it's worth 9. So we're going to write the 9 as my numerator. And then the number that always goes on this one, no matter what, is going to be 100. So then my x, or my unknown, is going to be the part. Now I just got to figure out, I have to do some division, multiplication, to figure out what part is left over. So here I have x, and I'm dividing by 124. So what I'm going to want to do is multiply by 124. That's going to cancel these two out. I'm going to be left with just x. Over here, I'm going to multiply by 124. Now the problem here is that I really have a fraction I should put into a decimal because that's going to make it easier to work with. I know that 9/100ths is going to look like 0.09 because my last digit is in the hundredths place. Now I'm going to multiply that by 124. 9 times 4 is 36. 9 times 2 is 18, plus 3 is 21. 9 times 1 is 9, plus 2 is 11. When I move over to add my placeholder 0, and now I'm going to multiply by 0. Well, all of these are going to end up being 0 because 0 times anything equals 0. So I'm going to be left with 1116, and move my decimal 2 places. So x equals 11.16. If I've divided 11.16 by 124, I would end up with 0.09. That's how you're going to do these 3 problems. If you want to stop the video and try these 3 problems and then come back and play the video to try the next 3, that is fine. Otherwise, we're going to move on to the next one. But before you solve it, I want you to cross this out because that's from the other day's homework. This problem is going to say, find the percent for 3 of 20. Let's make that 8. Find the percent for 8 of 20. That's going to be done exact same way that we're going to start off with. We're going to have 2 fractions. If you haven't done this on your own, pause and try it. So we're going to have 2 fractions that are equal to each other. I know this bottom number is 100. 8 of 20. That's going to be a fraction. 8 out of 20. That means my x this time is going to be my percent value, which makes sense because I'm looking for the percent. These are a little bit easier. So on this one, I'm going to want to divide 8 divided by 20. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to cross simplify. 2 goes into 8 and into 100. So I'm going to do 50. And then I'm going to do 4. 4 over 20. That equals 1/5, but just in case you didn't know that. 4 divided by 20. You can't put 4 into 20, so I'm going to go ahead and put a decimal. 20 goes into 40 2 times. And I'm going to get 40. When I subtract, I get 0. So I'm really going to have 0.2 equals x over 50. You might have 0.2 equals x over 100 because it's the same fraction, but that's okay. Now I'm going to multiply both by 50. That's going to cancel each other out here. Over here, I'm going to do 0.2. I'm actually going to do it the other way. 50 times 0.2. So sorry, my paper is moving all over the place. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 5 is 10. I'm going to move over 1 place. So x is going to end up equaling 10. But this one, since it's the percent, I'm going to want to write 10%. All right, the bottom 3 problems look like that. All 3 of them should have a percent sign. I should see work either on your paper, on the back of your paper, or on the loose leaf paper you were using. If you do not show me work, you do not get credit for doing it. Have a good night, guys.